Yeah, how we doing today? Today's Sunday. I'm just here thinking to myself, and I found this Facebook picture. It's the man on the top center is my grandfather, and the one in the middle is my uncle. His name is Beto Garcia, and uh, and the woman, her name is Maria Peña, and the one with the accordion, his name is Alonso Garcia, and the one in the bottom center, he's my uncle. His name is Manuel Peña. And the one to the left of him is Reggie Pena with the drumsticks. And then the one with the saxophone right now, I don't remember his name, but they used to play with my uncle, Beto Garcia. They used to play here in Fresno, at both the Rainbow Ballroom, Kearney Park, and all the community centers uh, around in the valley. And and as a kid, I used to play at the Rainbow Ballroom and those areas, those places during the 60s and the 70s. And I used to go with them once in a while to help them move the instruments. And my uncle would give me $20. And that went on for quite a while, for a few years while I was in high school. But later on, as I got older, I stopped going with him all the time. And but not too long ago, somebody was telling me a story about him, and I thought it was so funny because uh, he told me the story uh, of they were in Sanger. It was called the Sanger Community Center, which is not very far from Fresno, and this man, uh, among they were playing a Mexican song called Gabino Varela. They had played it earlier, and this man came and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "Tócame Gabino Varela. Play me that song Gabino Varela," And my uncle told him, "No." He goes, "We just played it about 3 or 4 songs ago," and uh, and the man looked at my uncle. He goes, "You better play it," He goes, "No, we already played it already." And he pulls up his shirt, and he has a pistol, and my uncle just looked at him and he goes, "Una, dos, tres, camino, varela." And he played the song, of course. He had a gun, and and I told that story to one of my coworkers because I was a truck driver, and I told him, I said, "Hey, how in the heck, did you get unloaded so early?" He goes, "Oh," "I told him I had a 45 pistol, and all of a sudden I heard of that story that they had told me about my uncle, and I told him a bunch of guys from work, and oh man, we just couldn't stop laughing, we just laughed and laughed, and I would tell him that story, of how they were playing in that auditorium, and a guy pulled out a gun, and told him to play that song, and he didn't want to. He pulled out the shirt, and he just started, and he had that gun, and it's funny, we think about these things at the time they're not funny, but later on we hear the stories and we start laughing, and that's the thing about YouTube and even in daily life. It's nice when you tell a story and stories that you never forget, and hopefully after I'm dead, somebody will tell the story to someone else, and yeah, my uncle Stephen, or so Stephen did this, and he told me this story, and so I hope that some of you have these stories, ready to tell, to other people, the little stories about our lives, and little mishaps and things that happen, and so I always remember going with my uncle to a lot of weddings and dances. We used to play a lot of Mexican and American music, rock and roll music, and I always remember the little things that happened. And it was so funny that we'd go to weddings. It was so weird. After every wedding, there was always a fight. And I remember going and even seeing the bridesmaids and some people getting married, getting into fights, and anyways, anybody wants to hear about any of the places I went to, just leave a comment, and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. But again, I have these stories. We all have these stories to tell, and as we get old and we can't. It's important to document them, and tell these little stories, things that happen here in the valley. So Anyways, anybody has any comments, I'd appreciate if you would, say something, And if you want me, if you don't want me to do it, make these videos anymore, that's fine. But if you do, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I really appreciate it. Hey, thank you very much.